Hide your kids, hide your what? No, I mean, don't fuck up, don't fuck yourself. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rude Cooking School podcast. I'm your host, who's going to talk very fast, John Alza III, and with me at the Paradox is...
Time for the wing-you-later. It's time for the wing-you-later.
Oh, God,
it's time for the wing-you-later. My name is Evan the Mayor. That was my rap for this week, so I've spared you all the indignities.
God. Oh, gosh.
It's also a hot track that I just dropped.
Yeah, it's a very local club song in the very early 90s.
Yep.
If you want to listen to a great early 90s Baltimore club music song,
Time for the Percolator.
Yeah, Time for the Percolator. And it's just
Yep. Not to be outdone by the water dance.
Yeah, or Beat That Bitch with a Bat. Which, you know.
Or The Scenario. That's more of a DC Go-Go thing, though.
Yeah. Beat That Bitch with a Bat was that a song by what's his name who got basically wrote WAP?
I have no fucking idea.
Was it because he also did your theme song?
Doo-Doo Brown.
Doo-Doo Brown.
Oh, it's two dope J's.
Yeah, but what's his name? Is the big guy who's a DJ in DC?
I don't remember his name.
Oh, it's burning a hole
something
in my brain
to do
right
with
now.
a dog, I bet.
Well, that was what?
There's a lot of dog names in the early 90s.
No. Yeah, I'm not gonna remember it. It's fine.
It's a food podcast.
It's gonna drive me crazy. I mean, percolator. That's kind of
food. That's drink, beverage, savory beverage.
Okay. What were we talking about again?
What do you mean? The
Sorry,
topic
off the
of
rails.
the show?
Yeah.
I don't know. Usually we talk about food we've eaten in the last week. I don't know. We touch upon some local topics perhaps, and then there's a overarching food theme. And I think you said it was processed cheese.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about processed cheese.
Government cheese.
Frank-ski. God
Frank
damn it.
Ski. Yeah,
God, I just had a brain baby. Oh, Frank-ski. Yes.
Feels so good.
Jesus Christ. Oh, that felt good to get out of my brain. Yeah, we're gonna talk about processed cheese, but before we do that, do you want to talk a little? The Super Bowl is this week, or as all of my nerdy friends like to say,
sports ball.
The superb owl.
owl.
Yeah, which I'm always like, we get it. It's not funny. It was 1996. It was funny. The superb owl. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's funny as it relates to my podcast, and now I don't need to get it out of the way at the end. We're recording with a stand-up comedian who's Philly based. So
okay.
Yeah, and we are recording on Super Bowl Sunday, so there's going to be some
what?
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
Why would he do that?
It's a lady, and we're going to do it before the Super Bowl. But I really want to I want to get a sense of the ground level mayhem that's going to ensue. I want to see some cars flipped over. I want them on fire, and then I want the local media to say, "Look at these fans having a good time in the middle of the street, totally not rioting."
Yeah, totally. We had to explain to Crosby why they greased the poles in Philly, and he was like, "I don't know what you mean," and I'm like, "Do you see outside the light pole?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "They grease those," and he's like, "Why?" And I'm like, so people don't climb them. He's like, why would people climb them? And I was like, I don't know.
Because I don't know. They're fucking Philly garbage
fucking
people.
Maniacs. Like, they're fucking idiots that want to fucking turn their brain into gabagool. I don't know. Like, it's so crazy. I want Kansas City to win only because I've got money on them.
Okay. I want to see Philly win just because I want to see that city burn.
I mean... spoiler alert, no matter which way it happens, that city's going to burn. Like, because Philly, I was explaining to Crosby, I was like, because when we were watching the game, I was like, I want Philly to lose. And he was asking me why. I was like, because their fans are garbage. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, they fucking throw batteries at people. They murder
hitchhiking robots.
They murder hitchhiking robots. They applaud when people get hurt. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. This is all pretty much except for the robot thing, at football games. Like, they're just bad fans.
Mm-hmm.
My prediction for the Super Bowl is this whole Eminem thing. is a scam that they're going to lean into with the heels.
It does seem to be an internet theory running around, and I'd be perfectly. I want all of the companies to double down on pissing off the conservatives out there, because fuck those people.
Yeah, I don't think Maya Rudolph would agree to do this.
To just earnestly be the M&M spokesperson. Sure,
right.
Jan.
Nepo baby Maya Rudolph.
Right.
I mean, she is.
But John, I gotta tell you, I was really offended by that lesbian purple overweight obese M&M, which is basically just the yellow M&M palette swapped.
I don't why do people get so fucking upset about? They were mad because the M&M didn't have heels on. She had flats.
Yeah, she used to be a sex pot M&M.
They're making her a man.
They're putting her in a pantsuit. They Hillaried her.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Now I've been seeing that dumb asshole Bobert is taking pictures of M&Ms upside down like a W, and she's like, I found it and it means woke. And I'm like, oh my God, you dumb fuck. You're like, there are people out there right now who aren't eating M&Ms for political reasons.
Sure.
And it's
because they're little chocolate candies that are fun to eat. Yeah. I miss the ones with the Crispies in the middle, or the pretzels. That's pretty good too.
The ones with the pretzels inside are fucking key, dude. I just got into
the peanut butter ones. Damn.
So Crosby was hanging out with a friend of his, and they were watching TV, and I was like, hey, you guys want some like fun, salty, sweet snacks? And he was like, yeah, sure. Like, you want to make some popcorn or whatever? I was like, yeah, fine. And then she was like, you got some M&Ms? And I was like, I don't, but I can go get you some M&Ms. And she was like, okay. I was like, what kind you want? And she's like, any of them are good. And I'm like, isn't it just basically M&Ms and then peanut M&Ms and then maybe the peanut butter M&Ms? They got like 7 different kinds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the great thing is there's a bag of every flavor. And that's the one I got. And they're fucking great because you never know which one you're going to get. Kinda,
that's nice.
Based on, you know which one's got peanuts.
It's like a party mix of M&Ms.
Yeah, it's so good. and the pretzel ones are fucking great.
Yeah, they're
really good.
Yeah.
And
too bad they're so woke.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, fucking so much diversity in one bag.
You know how Merriam-Webster comes out with like, this is the year's top word or whatever? Right. They need to come out with the Razzies, but for words. Like fucking woke is the most fucked out term.
Yeah,
of the last generation, I think. Like, hey, remember the term snowflake? Haven't heard that one in a minute because it's fucking stupid and got fucked out really fast and fucking woke.
Because all the people that used the term snowflake were the actual snowflakes. Like,
turns out.
And all the people that they were calling snowflakes were like, I'm not calling you a snowflake, you piece of shit. Like, it's so fucking lame. Like, that's the thing. It's all lame. Like, who gives a shit? Like,
but woke is especially bad because it's just it started out meaning a very specific thing, and now it's just like anything we don't like is woke, or it's shorthand for Democrat or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
what it is. It's liberal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So woke, and it's like, no, I just care about people. Like, what do you mean? Go fuck yourself.
Your Xbox is woke because it goes into power saving mode.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I put a diesel engine on mine. Fuck that shit.
I blow smoke with mine.
I was about to say.
I roll smoke.
I roll smoke in mine, in my house, in my face. Have you ever seen those videos where they like literally roll smoke in their own face? They're like, yeah, I breathe it myself because it's fine. Yeah. And their face is black and their mouth is all black.
I'm good. I'm glad they get emphysemas, cancer, and all that thing all at once.
Darwin themselves out of creation.
Cool.
But I do think that's going to happen when Nepo baby Maya Rudolph. I can't. I like Maya Rudolph. I just, I think it's funny. Just call her Nepo baby. Fun fact, if you don't know what I'm talking about, her mom was Mimi Ripperton, who sang the song "Loving You is easy 'cause you're beautiful." Like that song. That's literally her mom. And her dad.
I thought it was Dinah Shore for some reason, or like Donna Summer, but I was wrong.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then her dad was, I think, big Richard Rudolph, who was like a big record executive.
Mm-hmm.
She was also in the Rentals. as a backup singer, which is really fun.
Okay.
Maya Rudolph, not Mimi Ripperton. R.I.P. Mimi Ripperton. She died when Maya Rudolph was very young.
Well, I mean, imagine this, that, you've got two people who are in the entertainment biz and their kid goes into the entertainment biz. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, no. I love how people are like, it's Nepo baby. And it's like, you don't say like, he's a pipe fitter baby. Like, he's a Nepo baby because his dad was like, how many fucking generations of cops are like, my dad was a cop, my grandfather was a cop.
You Nepo cop baby.
Yeah, you Nepo cop baby. Like,
Nepo firefighter baby.
That's what people do. Like, when you're around a certain thing, like, it's, you have ends.
Yeah, I was the opposite because my father was a doctor, and I was just like, I see him on call all the time. I'm never going to be a fucking doctor ever.
Yeah. My dad was a pipe fitter, and I was like, I'm never doing that. That looks like the worst job in the history of jobs.
Yeah, being an entertainer sounds pretty fun. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing.
Like, given the choice, like, okay, I won't have as hard of a time getting into the entertainment business because literally my godfather's like, I don't know, James Brown or whatever the fuck. Like, that's a bad example, but like, why not? Like, you're around it, you're creative, go for it. I think if most people would be given the chance, they'd take the creative route instead of like whatever. Like,
but then you've got your real instances of Nepo babies where you've got your Paris Hilton who basically is just like, well, my dad's fucking rich as shit, or my grandfather was, so now I'm a DJ somehow.
Oh my God, Maya Rudolph's godmother was Tina Marie. Oh. That's amazing. R&B singer Tina Marie.
Nice.
Wow, that's pretty sweet. Makes me oh, that's awesome. Yeah, hey, for us all to be that lucky, right? I do think, and one thing I'm actually happy about this week, because we're recording this on Thursday, the Super Bowl is on Sunday, clearly. I haven't seen one leaked Super Bowl commercial. They finally have wisened up, and they're not leaking, quote unquote, the commercials early.
Right. Yeah.
Because they realized they spent $12 million and then just blew it the week of, like, by releasing it early.
I always love that. Well, I don't know if they do these anymore, but they will waste an hour and a half of airtime showing old Super Bowl commercials, and I'm like, we got this thing called YouTube, guys. I don't know if you know this.
Yeah,
we don't need Dean Cain introducing like the Clydesdale horses from the Budweiser commercial from 18 years ago.
I'm pretty sure Budweiser's killed all the Clydesdales, and that's why they just keep repeating. It's like when you see like primetime commercials during Christmas, and that Corona commercial comes on.
Yeah, the one.
From 1992.
The palm tree.
Yeah.
It's not, they didn't even upscale it with HD or anything.
It looks terrible.
It's still the same one. And the same thing with the Hershey's Kisses, the Jingle Bells one.
Yeah, the first CGI commercial ever.
and the Cadbury Cream Egg one with the lion dressed as a bunny.
The buck.
That one is still in very SD.
Oh yeah, totally. Thank you, Easter Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm excited for that. I hope Rihanna brings Janet Jackson on stage.
Oh yeah, I want some more nipples.
Stop it.
Nipples.
She got fucked over, man. That sucks.
Oh, big time.
Like, I've never seen
malfunction. There was nothing malfunctioning going on.
They did that shit on purpose and fucking
totally did it on purpose.
Timberlake threw her on the bus, and that piece of shit should be fucking burning in hell forever.
I guess, yeah. Well, he lives in Montana now, I think.
Well, he's living the dream.
Yeah. Well, I'd be living that dream.
I'm hoping for good commercials. I'm hoping for...
I want to see some more 3D snack foods that fly through the air into a hot girl's mouth.
What?
You don't remember the Doritos 3D commercial?
Oh, right. That was weird as fuck.
So stupid.
Yeah, I'm always amazed that there's like, Ameritrade. And you're like, you motherfucker spent $10 million on your boring Ameritrade commercial?
E-Trade, monkey puppy baby. Let's see.
Oh, monkey baby puppy.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh God, they're all so bad.
Yeah, last year I think the big headliner shit was all of the like crypto commercials and look where they're at
terrible.
now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how's your Dogecoin doing right now, guys?
It's going to a moon. I don't know which one.
It's going to the dogs. All right, enough of that. Super Bowl. We've done. It was funny because Evan was like, "We're doing a Super Bowl episode, right?" And I was like, "No," just because I think we've done three.
Well, I was going to say it would have been very easy to simply like take a 10-minute recording of you doing a Super Bowl foods bit from the past 5 years and just replay the exact one. So wings, dip,
right.
Nachos,
and then instead of Jenny or Rebecca, you have to fill you. I just played.
Yes, John.
Thing.
I really like those foods.
No, it's me, and I just cut them out. Then you have to reply to them.
That's right, John. I'll just give you a sound bank, and you just like hit the reply buttons.
Sounds right to me.
I love those burritos.
Yes,
taquitos are my favorite.
Beer's the thing that I like to drink. Rumbly in my tumbly. I'm like, where the fuck did that one come from? All right, let's get into it. Okay, so how do you feel about processed cheese? Do you have a?
It has its place for sure. Like a grilled cheese, perfect little place for a processed cheese.
Is that your jam? Do you like a processed cheese?
I just don't think you can beat like in between two pieces of bread that ooey gooey.
Right.
You know, it's almost rubber like in its gooiness.
Yeah.
But that tang, that real tangy flavor of the American cheese when it's all nice and melted.
Yeah, and like I'm like a snob about my processed cheese.
I can't imagine. You?
To a point. But not like I don't like Kraft. I don't like Kraft singles. Okay. They're trash. I don't enjoy the
So what's
texture.
What's the highfalutin processed cheese?
Just Boar's Head or whatever deli American cheese you can get.
Okay, so
that's not Kraft singles. Kraft, I've never, even when I was a kid, I didn't like Kraft singles.
Then what, aside from American cheese, what's another processed cheese other than Cheese Whiz or Velveeta?
Laughing Cow.
Oh, okay.
Most spreadable cheeses. I actually went down like a really
cheese in a can, the stuff like the stuff from Utz where you
Yep.
Ugh.
I went down a big like weird like memory lane brain thing with Hickory Farms, because when I was a kid my mother would get all these fancy Hickory Farm things for Christmas for our family get-togethers.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, like all of the logs and the beef sticks and the summer sausages,
sure,
and then all those weird tubes of coagulated cheeses.
Yeah.
And the little tiny wedges of coagulated cheese, like all that shit. Like I was like, oh God, like, yeah, it's all the same shit, right? Like, so yeah. And then there's like, there's a lot of weird European stuff that you come across every now and then. You're like, oh, I wonder what that's like. And then you get it and you're like, oh yeah, it's great. Like when I was in Spain, we were at a place and we were getting all this amazing salami and just like all of the what do you call it, the jamon, like the biota and stuff. And it was all super cheap, and the guy would just be like, all right, pick which one you want. And he would literally just take the leg down and then put it on the slicer and slice it. Or for the good ones, he would hand slice it, which was awesome. But then they had all these weird things. They had these two cheeses that I was like, what the fuck is that? And one was green and one was red. And I got both. And the green one was pesto, because he let us try them. The green one was pesto, and then the red one was like tomato and oregano and something else. It tasted like pizza. It was amazing.
Sounds pretty good.
It was so fucking good, but it was this fire engine red ass cheese. But it totally was basically American cheese, just some homogenated cheese shit with spices and stuff in it. I was like, oh, it's so good.
What about pimento cheese? Is that a processed cheese?
No, because pimento cheese...
It's a dip, right?
Well,
considered a spread?
I guess that would be... No, I'm like, I would think that would be a spread or a dip. Because it's normally just shredded regular cheese,
right? Mixed with
with
crap.
mayonnaise and whatever else. It's not a homogenized thing.
But it could
like,
be.
I mean, I'm sure there is that is homogenized, like where there's just like pimento cheese bucket, that kind of thing. Like any spreadable, edible cheese, is anything in a tub, anything in a toothpaste.
What if you
container?
could get cheese flavored toothpaste?
I think you can,
It's probably out there.
which is pretty gross. But like, there is cheese in a tube that you can buy, right? Like I've seen that before.
It's like Go-Gurt, but with cheese.
But it's like in a metal, like how you can get now, like anchovy paste or tomato
But
paste.
cheese.
But cheese, yeah. And I love American cheese. I love processed cheese for what it can do. It's the secret to my mac and cheese, where I use like 4 different kinds of really nice cheese, but then use American cheese as the binder that emulsifies everything.
The smoother.
Because of all the chemicals in it just bind onto the other cheese and then makes it all cohesive.
It's like some alien homunculus.
Yeah, it is.
Cheese.
It just completely infects all the other cheeses.
It's like Cartman when he merges with the Trapper Keeper.
Yeah, exactly.
But cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, it's totally the Akira of cheeses.
if only you did title of the episodes.
What do you want me to call it?
The Akira of cheeses.
The Akira of cheeses. Okay.
There you
Processed cheese. The Akira.
No. Just the Akira of cheeses. You don't need to put any colons or any of that.
No, I gotta put processed cheese.
Okay, whatever.
Nope. Look, I used to make punny episode names, and fucking people didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. And then as soon as I started just being like apples, they'd be like, yeah,
5 exclamation points.
So many people would listen to the episode instead of like me trying to be
apples.
Instead of me just trying to be like, an apple a day keeps the fucking whatever away. And people are like, I don't know what this is about. I'm like, all right, fine. So let's get into a little bit of this. Processed cheese, also known as processed cheese, cheese food, prepared cheese, cheese product, or plastic cheese, is a food product made from cheese and unfermented dairy ingredients mixed with emulsifiers. Additional ingredients such as vegetable oils, salt, food coloring, or sugar may be included. As a result, many flavors, colors, and textures of processed cheese exist. Processed cheese typically contains around 50 to 60% of actual cheese. We're going to go into a little bit of history here. Processed cheese was first developed in Switzerland.
Oh.
In 1911, when Walter Gerber and Fritz Stettler, seeking a cheese with longer shelf life and influenced by the cheese sauces such as those used in fondue, added sodium citrate to melted Emmentaler cheese and found that the emulsified cheese sauce could be recooled into a solid again and then reheated and cooled and reheated and cooled. And it never got weird.
You said sodium citrate?
Sodium citrate, yeah.
Yeah, because that's like a really basic kind of additive. I'm not afraid of that one. It's when you get into the benzoates and shit that I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, but sodium citrate, like, and we'll get into it later, is like has found like a really big new life in like modernist cuisine restaurants.
Okay,
where chefs are making American cheese out of really fancy cheese.
Got it.
By just using sodium citrate and then letting it cool in a cube and then slicing it on their deli slicers.
I don't know if we ever, I know that we probably, or maybe it was just me listening to your show and I was talking to you about how I was going to make raisins in my dehydrator, but I still have like an entire pouch of citric acid that I need to use to make raisins. So
what would you do with citric acid with raisins?
You basically kind of you blanch the grapes in a citric acid solution and then you dry them out
to keep them from getting wonky on the outside.
Yeah, wonky on the outside.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I were to make raisins, what flavor would you like? Golden?
Raisin flavor?
Cotton candy?
No, I like raisin.
What kind of grape?
Oh, I like
just a purple grape.
I honestly like golden raisins. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I legitimately will fucking house golden raisins when I get I normally don't eat raisins a lot. I'll mix it into trail mix, or if I get like mixed nuts, I'll throw raisins in. But like I normally use it a lot in like meatloafs and stuff. I like blending it.
Raisins?
Yeah, well, I like blending it into a paste with some sauce and then putting it in as a sticky component. Or normally what I do is I cube up prunes and put them in my meatloaf, which is fucking amazing. It sounds really weird, but it's really good, like as a thing. Or I like to when I make chili. I made chili the other day, and I'll take like dehydrated tomatoes and then raisins and steep them with the peppers in hot water, and then blend that all into a paste and dump that into the chili. And that's always really nice because you get this like extra, because when you have like ancho chilies and shit, like really not hot chilies, they have a real raisiny flavor anyway. And then I double it with actual raisins. And it gives you like a little bit of a sweet component without being sweet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of raisins, back when I was doing the jerky stuff, there was like all these people that were like, "Can you make a steakhouse jerky to, like A1 flavored jerky?" And I was like, "I can. Like, I'll try it out." And because raisins are in A1, it's the first thing you taste when you eat a piece of like A1 jerky.
Really?
It's weird. Yeah, the raisin is the very first thing you taste. I don't know why.
And there's raisins in it, huh?
There's raisins in it. Yeah, there's weird stuff that happens to sauces and things when you dry them out.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that happens, especially with a really hot pepper sauce, you can marinate that beef in hot pepper shit as long as you want, and as soon as you dehydrate it, poof, gone. No hots. It's not hot anymore. You got to like sprinkle hot shit on it as it's dehydrating. I don't know what happens, but the capsaicin just gets eaten up by something.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I've tried it. I mean, I did a side-by-side where I did beef with the same hot sauce, and then I just dunked what was it? It was either mushroom or eggplant. I can't remember. And I dried them both out at the same rate, same exact sauce. And the fucking eggplant was hotter than the sun. And the piece of beef was just like,
oh, there's some enzyme in the meat that's
something happens. Yeah.
Maybe it's the oil.
I don't know.
It just encapsulates the peppers.
I have no idea.
Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, shortly after 1960, after the guys in Switzerland, in 1916, Canadian-American businessman James L. Kraft applied for the first U.S. patent covering... Yeah, Kraft. Kraft, because he's Canadian-American. The first U.S. patent covering a new method of processing cheeses, which halted the maturation process. So processed cheese has several technical advantages over natural cheese, including a longer shelf life, a resistance to separating when it's cooked, a uniform look, and physical behavior. Its mass-produced nature also provides a dramatically lower cost to producers and consumers alike than traditional conventional cheese making. Because they don't have to age it. They don't have to, break it down from, curd and whey and press it and let it sit and just sit on the shelves for months while it ripens. They just take pretty much already made cheese. See, and this is the thing I was thinking. I was like, okay, well, it's cheaper, but like they're using actual cheese anyway, but I guess they're using young cheese. So it's not like really developed flavored cheeses. So, This in turn enables industrial scale production volumes, lower distribution costs, a steadier supply chain, and a much faster production time compared to traditional cheeses. God, why can't I talk? The use of emulsifiers in processed cheeses results in a product that melts without separating when cooked, with prolonged heating. Some cheeses, especially cheddar and mozzarella, separate into like lumpy protein gels and fat combinations. So like, you know, it gets like sweaty and all the oil comes out, and then the gel, like you get like a really hard lumpy mess with like a lot of like oils and liquids on the outside. The emulsifiers, typically sodium phosphate, potassium phosphate, tartrate, or potassium citrate, reduce the tendency, or sodium citrate, I'm sorry, reduce the tendency for tiny fat globules in the cheeses to coalesce and pull on the surface. Because processed cheeses do not separate when melted, it's used as an ingredient in a variety of dishes. Unlike some unprocessed cheeses, heating does not alter the taste or texture. If you've ever made a cheese sauce and it breaks on you, that's why. Because the heat for certain cheeses, you just can't make a good cheese sauce with it. Even with a roux sometimes, where a roux basically is a stand-in as the emulsifier in the cheese sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the milk and the fat and the stuff like swirl with the cheese and let it melt, and then they bind to it. You know, the starch and the fat.
I have an almost perfect example of this. I was making a like very basic broccoli, rice, cheese casserole.
Okay.
Literally yesterday, and it was good. It was tasty, but the cheese wasn't cheesy enough. It wasn't, you know, gooey enough. It was just kind of like I was spooning it out onto my plate, and I'm like, oh, it's just kind of a solid mass of.
It gets all tightened up.
Yeah, it was just like, yeah. I want this thing to kind of like, you know, cheesily swirl around in my mouth.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted.
Yeah, with that kind of thing, it's weird because I totally get that, because my mother-in-law makes that casserole a lot. And I'm like, I like the taste of it. I don't like the texture of it, because it's just, again, to use the word homunculus, it's a rice homunculus of cheese and broccoli. And like, if it was a little more pourable, or, you know, liquidy,
yeah, a little runnier,
a little quicksandy, if you will. Like if a human could die in it easily.
Did you ever go to Crazy Lil's when it was open ages ago in the Federal Hills Zone in Baltimore, Maryland?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I don't think I ever went.
Their menu was basically just mac and cheese. And they made a broccoli mac and cheese that was fucking banging. And I don't know what their literal secret sauce was. The cheese was perfect. It was just perfect. It was nice and smooth, very tangy, very cheesy. Right. And even if you like left it on your plate for 10, 15 minutes, I guess because it was so fatty, you know, oily, greasy, that cheese sauce just did not quit. It did not like turn into a block.
Well, one of the things is that they're probably using American cheese to bind and smooth everything out. And like, that's one of the things that I've learned, like, no matter how yummy or fancy my mac and cheese is, I'll use either white American or yellow American as the plastic that smooths everything out, that keeps everything together. Yeah. And it doesn't take a lot, you know.
A little goes a long way.
A little goes a long way, and honestly,
you could practically titrate it by like just adding a little bit of American cheese and keep stirring it till you get the consistency you want.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
Processed cheese is often sold in blocks, pressurized cans, and packs of individual slices, often separated by wax paper or with each individually like wrapped by machine. In the UK, processed cheese is typically sold in individual slices, often referred to as, unsurprisingly, quote unquote, singles, or wrapped in foil portions. Dairy Lee or Dairy Lay and the Laughing Cow are the leading brands over there. In America, as we've talked about, Canadian-American James Kraft applied for the first U.S. patent for the method of making processed cheese. Kraft Foods Incorporated developed the first commercially available shelf-stable sliced processed cheese, and it was introduced in 1950. The first commercially available individually sliced cheese slices were introduced by the U.S. by Clearfield Cheese Company in 1956. So Kraft came out with the blocks, I guess, and then Clearfield came out with the slices. These forms of processed cheese have become ubiquitous in U.S. households, most notably for the cheeseburgers, grilled cheeses, and sandwiches that most kids took to school. Because of its ability to cook evenly, distribute or stretch smoothly, and resist coagulating, unlike traditional cheddar cheeses. Like cheddar cheese is a bitch when you're trying to like cook with it because
it's not very cooperative.
It instantly tightens up and sweats out, and it's a lot to fight with. Competitors lobbied unsuccessfully to require processed cheese to be labeled embalmed cheese. We'll get to that later. And there's a specific reason. It's really funny, actually. The best known processed cheese in America is marketed as American cheese by Kraft Food, Borden, and other companies. It's yellow or off-white, mild and has a medium consistency, melts easy. It's typically made from a blend of cheeses, most often Colby and cheddar. Other types of processed cheese created in the United States is Provel pizza cheese. Have you ever heard of this?
Provel?
Yeah.
I know that term. I just don't.
Provel. I've never heard of it. So this uses cheddar, Swiss, and provolone as the base. And Provel cheese is commonly used in St. Louis style pizzas.
Oh.
Which I had to look up. Do you know what a St. Louis style pizza is?
I'm sure I would recognize a picture of it, but no, I've never had
You totally
one.
would. So it's basically Lido pizza. It's really thin cracker crust pizza, and then it's cut into squares. Like it's a round pizza that's cut into squares, whereas I guess Lido is a square pizza cut into squares. But yeah, I was like, oh shit, that's where they got that from. But the traditional St. Louis style pizza is that with Provel. So that was cool. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Owing to its highly mechanized methods of production and additive ingredients like oil, salts, and colors, some softer varieties of processed cheese cannot legally be labeled as actual cheese in many countries, even those in which slightly harder varieties can be. Such products tend to be classified as quote unquote cheese food or quote unquote cheese spread or quote unquote cheese product, depending primarily on the amount of cheese, moisture, and milk fat present in the final product. In the United States, processed cheese is defined, categorized, and regulated by the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration. Federal Drug Administration, under the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Title 21, Section 133, ellipses, cheeses, and cheese-related products. Pasteurized processed cheeses can be made from a single cheese or a blend of several cheeses. Cream, milk fat, water, salt, color, and spices may also be added. The mixture is heated with an emulsifier, poured into a mold, and allowed to cool. The definitions follow. Here we go. Pasteurized processed cheese, which is made from one or more cheeses, excluding certain cheeses such as cream cheese and cottage cheese, but including American cheese. In the final product, moisture must not be more than 41% of the weight and the fat content not less than 49. Right? Pasteurized processed cheese food, which is made from one or more cheeses available for pasteurized processed cheese composing not less than 51% of the final weight, mixed with one or more optional dairy ingredient, such as fluid milk or whey, and which may contain one or more specified optional non-dairy ingredients. The final form must be less than 44% moisture and have a fat content greater than 23%. Jesus Christ, I still got one.
I love it when the government just does this.
I know.
With, it's like it invents all of the thing. Hey, this food needs to be this formula of thing. And I ran into this with beef jerky. It used to be called the protein to moisture ratio, and it had to be at least a 0.47, meaning like had to be more than 53% protein to the moisture for reasons, because if you put it in a bag and you don't evacuate the oxygen,
moldy. Yeah, sure,
it'll get moldy faster. You can get all kinds of gross stuff all over it. But it's just like, all right, but some people kind of like a chewy, damper jerky. Some people like their almost no moisture jerky, the stuff you got to gnaw on for 5 minutes.
It's the worst.
But I guess like the NASA scientists that were making this cheese were just like, no, this is the only way that processed cheese can be made to be considered embalmed cheese.
So the first one was pasteurized processed cheese. Mm-hmm. The second one was pasteurized processed cheese food. This third one is pasteurized, and this is the last one, thank God.
Food product.
Pasteurized processed cheese spread, which is made similarly to I can't read this bullshit. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah.
To pasteurized processed cheese food, but must be spreadable at 70 degrees Fahrenheit,
Jesus.
21 degrees Celsius. Mm-hmm. Moisture must be between 40 and 60% of the total weight, and the fat content has to be greater than 20%. So
yeah, and all these places that make this food product, part of the reason that they set up all these guidelines is because some inspector needs to come in and take a sample and measure the moisture, measure the spreadability,
at
the flow rate
degrees.
Of the ketchup. Yeah, at 70 degrees.
Exactly.
Like the ketchup does not have the appropriate flow rate. Recall it all. Heinz, you are on notice.
So the FDA does not maintain a standard of identity for either quote unquote pasteurized prepared cheese product, a designation which particularly appears in many craft products, or quote unquote pasteurized processed cheese product, a designation which appears particularly on many American store and generic branded singles. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to skip over the rest of this because fuck this shit.
It's pretty dry, unlike this cheese that has to be moist.
Yeah, that's super spreadable. I'm going to get into this one thing that I read, and I'm just going to go verbatim. You can look this up on Thrillist. It's called "The Rise, Fall, and Comeback of American Cheese" by writer Kat Thompson, and she succinctly put this all together, and she gets all the flowers for this, and it's amazing. That's why I'm like not just taking bits and pieces. I'm just going to read like just total paragraphs of this shit. So before it was hated, American cheese was well loved. The processed cheese that had become known as American cheese was first developed by Switzerland guys. We'd heard about that. Stateside Canadian-born James Kraft was experimenting with a similar process to form what was called a warm cheese. The warm cheese was easier to slice and made for convenient distribution. And then they go into, stuff like that. It benefited troops in World War II to enjoy cheese in cooler conditions without it like being, because normal cheese would dry out with, the shipping and all that shit. Like, this stuff was just wrapped in, aluminum foil or whatever the fuck, and got to them was still soft. So, on their bologna sandwiches, they took a loving to it. And then once Kraft hit really hard in the 50s, those guys were like, holy shit, it was the stuff that I loved in the war.
Right.
You know what I mean? American cheese served several purposes. Convenience, lasted a long time, tasted like cheese for Americans to overlook its processed nature. And like we said, it was shipped overseas for the troops, made its way into the bologna and cheese sandwiches all across America. In fact, the fact that it became prepackaged in a society that was wholly benefiting from an industrialized America was a positive.
I think I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you ever want to have a really fun conversation topic for this podcast, shouldn't take more than 10, 15 minutes. Get a former military person who had to subsist on MREs for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And ask them which ones were the most valuable and tradable. The answer from my friend, who is a former Army Ranger, was the chocolate pudding packet.
Oh, interesting. Mm-hmm. I lived in college with an Army Ranger who had boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of MREs, and I would come home drunk at night and raid his fucking MRE boxes and eat them. He'd get really mad at me.
Did he give a shit, or was he?
No, he was pissed off at me.
He was still enlisted or whatever?
Yeah, no. Well, he was what do you call it? Weekends at that time. But then after college, he went back in. But he would get mad at me because I'd eat all the good ones. Because he told me, he's like, the ones with rice are fucking great. The ones with, this are terrible, or, but drunk, I didn't give a shit.
Hardtack.
Yeah. Oh God, hardtack's fucking terrible. Where am I at? Okay. In fact, the fact that it became prepackaged was seen as a benefit because it was seen as a luxury to be able to purchase the deluxe craft slices, which were touted as perfect, right? They're individually wrapped and precious, and they're the fancy cheese, right? So that's how people saw that in the 50s. Over time, though, American cheese culture expanded. Once viewed as elitist and inaccessible, cheeses were considered fancy, have now become more attainable and approachable. Blue cheeses on burgers, goat cheese is folded into mashed potatoes, brie, Gouda, and gorgonzola all find their way onto normal cheese plates. But Americans have now, in the last 20 to 25 years, have wanting to get away from processed foods. And, this article goes into how people, just don't want that kind of food anymore. But then here come, food chains who rely on that shit, like Shake Shack or In-N-Out or Five Guys. They love that shit, but then, so in fact, quote, in fact, some will argue that American cheese isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just misunderstood. Iron Chef Alex Guarnaschelli has proclaimed her love for American cheese in a series of tweets. Quote, on a burger and on grilled cheese, there's nothing better. Stop playing, she wrote. In a follow-up tweet, she said, I might go as far as to say someone who doesn't like American cheese is someone you can't trust. That's a little bit far, but sure. But then the article goes into how high-end restaurants start celebrate American cheese as this is the only thing that should ever go on a burger. If you've ever tried to put blue cheese on a burger, it's really hard to get it to melt. And any non-melty cheese that tastes great, it's going to taste great on the burger, but it's going to fight the burger because it's not cohesive with the burger. There was
it doesn't become one with the burger, right?
Wiley Dufresne, who was a big molecular gastronomy guy with WD-50, he would make a beer cheese thing, which was a blend of raclette and cheddar. And then other guys have like we were saying earlier, the sodium citrate thing, where they were taking all these blends of cheeses now and making a mold and then making their own I guess copyrighted versions of cheese. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
They're making their own blend. It's their house
American cheese.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. That's their key to their burger. This crazy, this one guy who, what's his name? Gabriel Martinez, or no. Kevin Garrett Walker, who came up with a cheese that was a blend of cheddar and Morbier, which is a semi-soft French cheese. That's his signature kind of, it's a little funkier, but it's still got that rubberiness, but it tastes really good on a burger. That shit's fascinating to me. And I'll just end it with this quote. At the end of the day, nobody's turning down American cheese, Garrett said. Anybody who says that is pretty much full of shit. And I agree. Like, people like to, foodies like to talk about how shitty American cheese is. And it's not. It's got
the only
its
reason they're
purpose.
saying that is because the chefs aren't telling them to like it yet. And
Right.
As soon as they get told,
Or not realizing that the chefs behind their back who are saying like, oh, well, I would never use that. Like, use it in everything. Like, nobody's not using that in their mac and cheese.
right, or their grilled cheese.
There's nothing worse than going to a restaurant and getting mac and cheese and you take a bite of it and it breaks apart.
Yeah.
Or you get those strands of bullshit where you're like, oh God, it's just rubber band cheese. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know what you're doing. It's so weird.
This is why you need to do at least a couple of YouTube food labs and like experiment with making like an American mozzarella cheese and like
Yeah.
and then dunk a hamburger patty in it.
Jesus. Yeah, I'm sure nobody's done that before.
Nope, nobody on TikTok has done that.
Okay, let's do a couple food fact things real quick.
Food facts.
So less than 51% of a Kraft single is cheese. So that technically can't be labeled as cheese.
Cheese food product.
Milk, whey, and milk protein concentrate are the three biggest ingredients, all of which it makes it not real. Originally, it was sold in tins. Kraft first had it in 7 3/4 ounce tins. That's pretty weird.
I've seen those.
Also, 3.5 ounce tins, which is even smaller.
Also, I mean, if you get one of those jars of Tostitos, queso, whatever the hell that shit is, it's mostly whey. But I would absolutely eat a burger dipped in that shit.
In what shit?
The Tostitos jar-based cheese.
Oh
dip.
yeah. Oh, that stuff's
I love
amazing.
that stuff. It's so good.
One of my favorite things in the world is like, is it Utz? Is it Utz that makes dips too?
Utz has a version of it that's like jalapeno.
That's my favorite. It's the cheddar jalapeno.
It's in a
tin.
I don't like
just,
that stuff.
It's liquid gold to me with pretzels. It's amazing.
Okay.
I love potato chips and pretzels in it.
I'm always gonna go with the Tostitos queso with the jalapenos kind of sprinkled in there.
I just love the shitty plastic sauce. I love that stuff. Like, I always have since I was a kid, and that's like, let's say every 3 months I get a can of that stuff. And it's always a wild hair up my ass on a Friday night where like, I'm like, all right, let's get a bunch of junk and watch TV. And then I'll eat like a quarter to maybe half of that can. And then that can stays in the fridge until it goes bad.
Yeah, right.
That's like, I never eat it again.
Well,
I'm just
here's what we need to do. One of two things. We need to get the Utz catalog and look through it and pick some of our faves, maybe taste test them on the show.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, a chocolate covered potato chip. Or we go travel to Hanover, Pennsylvania and go on a snack food tour.
Do we have mics that we can take with us?
I got a Zoom field recorder.
Do we got a Zoom field recorder?
I got a Zoom field recorder with shotgun mics, baby.
That's what you're doing right now, huh?
Kind of.
All right. I like that idea though.
I mean, Hanover, PA is where all the snacks come from.
What model Zoom is it, by the way?
It's an H4, but I've got.
I'm not doing anything that's under.
Sorry,
H6.
I have an H6. My bad.
Oh, okay. Well, then an H6. That's fine.
I used my advertising revenue to buy it.
Nice. You got advertising revenue. What's that like?
Like once upon a time. I don't know if you heard the episodes where Smythe Jewelers was one of our advertisers.
Oh,
that was
sweet.
weird.
That was weird. I remember when you guys used to have advertising.
Smythe Jewelers.
So the original Kraft used cheddar as their base, where because the Swiss place was doing Emmentaler and Swiss, they were using cheddar. It's not cheddar anymore. Okay, now going back to the the embalmer's cheese thing, the embalmed cheese, before sodium phosphate became commonplace in grilled cheese sandwiches, it was used to preserve corpses. This led to the early 20th century cheese snobs to lobby for the off-putting title of embalmed cheese. Federal regulators weren't swayed. They settled on the term processed cheese instead. So like, cheesemakers, actual real cheesemakers were like, no, they're putting embalming chemicals into this cheese. It should be called embalmed cheese.
Well, I mean, how much better would funerals be if people were embalmed with cheese?
Oh God, it would be so much better. Just like eat your dad. Be awesome.
I was gonna say dip a chip into his mouth.
Yep, his mouth.
Cheese.
The mouth has to be open, full of cheese. Yes,
his mouth is just a cheese fountain.
Yep. God. Oh, in the 80s, it was given away free due to a dairy surplus. Reagan began wonderful, amazing, angelic president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, who is rotting in hell rightfully. He's terrible. I was just joking. He's an awful person.
No, he's the best president we've ever had.
Yeah. Okay. That dude is rotten in hell. Fuck him. Okay. He began giving out free quote unquote government cheese through the temporary emergency food assistance program in 1981.
I think that has more to do with the turnaround of the perception of American cheese, aka government cheese.
Oh, absolutely.
Than most other things, because then people really saw, oh, poor people eat this shit. I'm not fucking eat this crap. Exactly.
That's why everybody thought about that. So the program petered out in the 90s, but yeah, I as a poor child in the 80s ate lots of government cheese.
Government cheese.
And it was awesome. It was fucking great. You just got these giant fucking cardboard
blocks of cheese,
containers of cheese. It was like, I guess, whatever a slice of cheese is. What's that? Like 4x4?
Sure. Yeah.
And then by, let's say 16. Yeah, that sounds about right. 4x4 by 16. And, it was just, you slice it and then you would just take one big slice and put it between two pieces of bread and then make grilled cheese. It was fucking awesome.
What if, instead of
or you melted it and made cheese dip or, whatever.
If you had the option, if you were like on nutrition assistance or whatever the politically correct term for it is, you can go on a website and it'd be like Home Chef, where the government has all this surplus food that they're like, yeah, we got this cheese, we got, I don't know, like whatever the government hoards at this point, honey, and rice, it would be like
corn,
rice, all these staple foods. And it would be like, all right, you can take your pick of 3 of these, or we'll load $15 onto your WIC card or whatever. I think that'd be amazing, and people.
I think that's a great idea.
Or then if WIC was basically a Home Chef thing, where it was just like, all right, you can pick out of these 15 different boxes that we will send to your house, which will keep you and your babies fed for the week.
Well, see, the thing is, though, a lot of time. I mean, it depends. Like, if you give people $20 in online food or $15 in WIC, I think most of the time they're going to probably choose the WIC. I don't know. It depends.
What I mean is at least you have the option. If you'd rather have the $15 and go down to the corner store and load up, then that's fine. Or if you want this box of food that may or may not be better than what you've got available to you in your area.
Weirdly, I see, to get rid of the food desert thing. Oh, I like that idea. Yeah. And then have people deliver it, and then you're creating more jobs. I like that idea.
All sorts of ideas coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, man. Fuck. Hey, listener that's working for the government, put that into use.
That's me. I work.
Make Evan the fucking leader of that.
Let's get Brandon Scott on this podcast. Yeah. We could talk to him about it.
I will say that during the pandemic, we were issued WIC cards because we have a child, and they would put money on it, and it was fucking amazing. Like, it's like, all right, here's $300. Go buy food with it. It was like, damn, hell yeah.
So I don't have kids. So was that like they didn't means test that or anything? They just like gave everyone $300 on
Anybody
cards.
who had a child under a certain age, you get a certain amount of money on the card. And you can only, like, if you bought like food and paper towels, the paper towels you actually had to buy. You can't, you had to buy food with it.
Right.
So
and obviously they don't
like
restrict what food you can buy.
No, not at all.
Because I remember that being like a big, oh God, these poor people are going out there and buying duck.
Yeah, I was buying steaks and fucking lobster with it. Like,
Right.
Of course. Why not?
Got dipped in gold leaf.
Yeah, fuck that shit. But normally, I mean, granted, I honestly did buy steaks and shit with it, but I buy steaks and shit anyway. But like, normally I would just use it for like getting daily dinner. Like, you know, most of the time it was like $40 here, $40 there. Like, it wasn't like, oh shit, I got $300. I'm going to blow all of it. Like, it was never that. It was that like once when we did steak and lobster.
But it basically
for my birthday once
at a grocery store or something.
It only works at a grocery store.
Right.
Yeah. Like you can't take it.
You can't take it to 7-Eleven or.
Oh, I don't know. I never went. I never tried it.
I don't know.
I would assume if it's food, you could do it.
I don't know.
It's got to be food. Like,
I think there's some weird thing embedded in the chip.
Oh, really?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I really don't
know
know how it works. Hey, listeners, if you know how WIC works or any of that stuff.
But it was great. And I had no problem using it. Like my mother, when we were younger, you know, we would get food stamps and stuff. And then we would get to like the Safeway or whatever. And they were junkies probably. And they would have
trying
like
to give you food stamps for
they would have
cash or something.
$200 worth of food stamps, and you could get them for $100. My mother would give them $100, get $200 of food stamps, and then fucking buy, you know,
Hey.
with her food stamps too. Like,
that's hustling.
you know, yeah. I mean,
Hey, do you
that's just how it works.
remember the green stamps or the blue stamps or whatever the fuck that was?
I'm not 100 years old, no.
Oh well, I'm not either.
You mean from
I'm
the
younger than
World
you.
War II?
No. This is like, fuck. I can't remember. It was like a booklet, and as you did your food stamps, you would put a stamp in the booklet, and you could turn it in for like goodies. I don't.
Oh no, I don't remember that.
I'm gonna have to Google it when we get off. And I'll post it in your Facebook group.
Even up until when I was in high school, my mother and father were getting subsidies because, you know, my dad was like I said earlier, a pipe fitter, and he would constantly strike, and they would be out of work. So even when I was in college, that happened, and they would get, you know, government assistance food, and I remember getting cans of pork, which honestly are fucking amazing. It's like,
you mean like potted meat food product?
No, it's just basically unsalted pork.
Shoulder?
That's put into a can, and then they heat it. So when you open it up, it's pretty much already pullable.
Right.
All you had to do was just add spices. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And then peanut butter, which was just, it was just peanut butter. Like my roommate would laugh at me, and we would just get high and just eat spoonfuls of this fucking peanut butter while we're watching like Ren and Stimpy, or dipping like chocolate into this. It was the most spreadable peanut butter in the world.
Really?
And it tasted so good. And it wasn't sugary. It wasn't super salty, but it wasn't that shitty, like hippie stuff that you have to like mix together and shit.
Yeah.
Like it was homogenized. It was so good with chocolate. It was so good.
Huh.
But yes. I mean, government cheese is fucking amazing. One other thing I'll say about government cheese. All the people that I grew up with in my neighborhood who also had government cheese love to wax nostalgic about the government cheese that they got, right? It was the greatest in the world. And man, I wish we could get some of that fucking government cheese. But man, they all love hating poor people. They're all grossed up and
poor.
No, they're not poor anymore. So they don't get why aren't these people fucking pulling themselves up by their bootstraps? These people with all their children, meanwhile they had 7 fucking brothers and sisters, right? And that's the reason their parents were getting their shit. It drives me nuts, man.
It's one of the things that we've dropped the ball on in terms of government, is that people want a tangible thing. They remember government cheese because it came to their door just like a glass of milk, the jug, the milkman or something like that. It came to their door. They took it in. They used it. They ate it. It was great. Now it's kind of like, all right, you have this card. There's money on it. You go do whatever.
But even worse were the food stamps. Like I said, people would sell, like, as soon as they get their food stamps, and now what I understand happens is they're like, all right, I got $300 of fucking WIC. Give me $200. I'll go in with you and we'll buy that $300 of shit. You just got to hang out with me for however long.
And ultimately that's the sort of conservative talking point against those types of systems, is because, like, well, they're just going to go trade it for drugs or whatever.
And yeah, it happens, but it's so, like, there's always going to be outliers. It's not going to be the whole of the thing. That's like maybe 1 or 2% of the people that get this shit. Most of the people that get it fucking need it. You know what I mean? Like, that's right. I don't want this to turn into fucking like liberal talk, but I'm just saying, like,
hey, but it's politics and food,
But it drives me crazy that all my friends, and dude, I'm saying like 95% of the people that I grew up with that were all poor. We were all fucking dirt fucking poor, and considerably to, like, we were lower class. It wasn't even middle class, right? Like, they wax nostalgic about being on fucking food stamps and eating government cheese, and then post the most heinous anti-poor shit ever. It drives me nuts. Like,
nothing more self-loathing than a poor person.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the problem is, the GOP's, and they're great at this, at saying, like, one day you're going to be a millionaire. You're going to be a millionaire, and it's going to be your problem with taxes. And it's like, you're never going to be a fucking millionaire, you dipshits. Like, I'm never going to be a millionaire. I went to college. I fucking got 2 college degrees. I'm never going to be a millionaire. I'm not even going to be a 200,000 in there.
Oh, come on, John. Come on.
Like, ever. Like, it's crazy. Like I might break 100,000 by the time I'm 60.
You just got to invest in that Dogecoin.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck. Honestly,
my take-home message is
hold on.
Idea. Go ahead.
I got to say it. To be fair, I do have money in Dogecoin.
Oh.
I did it as a joke, and I actually made a lot of money on it in the beginning. Okay. And I bought more, and it all tanked.
Oh, yeah, it tanked.
And I'm in the. Yep, I should have got out when it was at 69 cents.
That's why you got that WIC card during COVID.
Yeah, exactly. It's currently at 7.9 cents. Yeah.
But no, yes, hey, any politicians listening, I say Home Chef.
I like that idea,
for people
though.
under a certain median income, whatever the cutoff is.
I really like that idea, Evan. It's a really good idea. Like, okay, you can either take the WIC or you can take 1.25, on the dollar if you just order it online, and then they deliver the food to your house.
You get a box of ugly produce from uglyproduce.com, and then like a couple of protein items, and I don't know,
fucking
man.
Right.
This doesn't seem hard to me.
No, that's a really good fucking idea. I like that.
Well, the hard part is like the rural poor people.
Well, I mean, they can still get delivery. Like, you just got to get a.
Well, then you run into the issue of that last mile issue that the USPS is currently being yelled at about. It's like, they don't make money, and it's like, all right, well, how are people live out nowhere going to get their mail?
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Is like, the postal service shouldn't make money. Like, it's not what it's
government
for.
service.
Yeah. Okay, so
it would work a lot better in a city than in rural.
2015, there was a huge recall of cheese because the thin plastic strips from the 3 and 4 pound packages had a nasty habit of becoming a choking hazard. So they recalled 36,000 cases in the U.S., Puerto Rico, and Grand Caymans. 2 months later, the recall was expanded to include 500,000 cases internationally. So that was a mess.
Could you imagine living in like a society that doesn't have cheese? Because there are societies without cheese. Like Grand Cayman doesn't have cheese without like it importing it from the mainland.
No, I'm sure they have. I'm sure they have some sort of local.
They have a burgeoning cheese industry on the Grand Cayman.
Every place has some sort of cheese. It just wouldn't be at the stores. You'd have to go to like the goat place or the cow place. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I would
whatever your local farmer is or your local cheesemonger.
Your average American probably eats at least a piece of cheese every fucking day of their life.
Yeah.
And your average Indonesian probably does not.
Right.
Far less cheese.
Well, no,
what I'm saying is I love cheese.
They make cheese, and I would say in Indonesia, they probably don't have as much processed
dairy
cheese, and they're using more paneer-ish stuff that is made from curzon whey and not processed cheese.
You know how we have like oat milk?
Even,
can we make oat cheese?
Oh yeah, there's vegan cheeses that are fucking like, you want to talk about processed cheese. And I was considering adding that to this, but I figured it would just be its whole other thing, because I really want to do a deep dive into vegan cheese, because I've had vegan cheese where I was like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing.
Sure.
Like if you go up to
where, John? Where do I go to eat it?
Pauly G's. Their vegan pizzas, their vegan cheeses are fucking awesome. And it's, basically like walnut cheeses or whatever the fuck that they're buying it, but it's really, really good. And there's a couple places, there's a creamery in New York, and I think there's one close. There might be one in Maryland, but I think the most famous one is in New York, where they're making cheeses that even like cheese sommeliers, I don't know what that's called.
Cheese omelets.
Cheese omelets they're just like, oh, this is great. What is it? And they're like, yeah, not cheese, dickhead. And they're just like, what the fuck? Like blowing people's minds, because
I'm all about that shit.
No, absolutely.
If I can't tell the difference, that's why initially I was all about the Impossible Whopper, because I was like, if it tastes good to me, it tastes kind of like a burger.
But
good.
Exactly.
Great.
That's the thing. But it doesn't have to be like, you fucking tricked me, or, like, I'm not buying that shit because it fucking isn't cheese. It's like,
because it's woke.
Does it taste? Yeah, exactly. Right.
I just brought it all back.
Does it taste good? Does it taste good? Because like, that it's curdled milk, right? That cheese is milk that they take the stomach acid of a fucking cow and they put that into hot milk, and it separates the cheese. Like if you were to throw up, right? Like that's what it is. That's what cheese is. And it's fucking disgusting when you think about it. But the way it's handled and the way it's processed, it tastes great. Like why be mad at fake cheese? It's just another way of like making something delicious. Like just enjoy the delicious thing.
People hate change, John. They don't understand.
Yeah, dude. Oh God. There was a lady at work today, and I lost my temper on her, and I felt bad. The younger people in my art department were talking about something, and one of them said, "Come on, spill the tea, sis." And my older coworker, who's like maybe 10 years older than me, was like, what did you spill? What do you mean? And then they were all like, oh, well, it's like slang, like spill the tea, tell the truth, like give the thing. And then she was like, why do people always have to change words? Why can't things just mean what they mean? And I was like,
why does slang exist?
Yeah. And for me, a person who has never enjoyed slang, I've always found it just dumb as shit, even though I've used it constantly. Like I find slang stupid as balls, but that's why it's funny. Anyway, I was like, do you fucking hear yourself?
Right.
You sound like an old ass woman. Like when you were a kid, somebody probably was like, grody to the max. What the fuck does that mean? Right? Like you can't do that.
Squaresville, man.
right. And then she was like, oh, well. And I'm like, oh, God, fuck off. Back to cheese. We're done.
Okay.
I think
We are done.
No, I think, here. We'll end on this. This is the dumb one.
Okay.
This is the one I wanted to get to. The record for fastest/stupidest consumption is 46 slices of cheese in 3 minutes.
Ew. Tell me it wasn't Joey Chestnut.
No, the dudes at Freaking Eating, who can also drink an entire case of 12-hour energy without dying, managed to devour 40. I don't know what that means.
46 slices of cheese.
I mean, but is that, they're saying the dudes at Freaking Eating.
Oh yeah, so it was, was it one guy? Or
yeah,
three
right.
guys?
Hold on, let me find this link. Oh, they're out of business. Okay. Well, let's say one asshole ate 46 slices of cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Way to fact check all these fun facts.
I thought that was going to have a name on it.
All right.
I fucked that up. I thought originally when I read that last night that was
really sliding into home on this one, John.
Oh God. I'm just gonna hold on. Give me a second. Fill some time here.
My name is Evan, and on the
bike,
I like to ride my yellow bike. I go to Paradox to see Wu-Tang. I ride my slang scooter brand down the street.
That's good.
Hit all the kids that I like to meet. I play some Jimmy John's delivery wands.
Okay, you're good. I would rather just have silence.
I just had a stroke.
Yeah, it's okay.
Wait, what are you doing?
I'm just looking up.
You're still looking up stuff after my awesome rap?
Sliced cheese world record.
I think now is time to end the show, John.
Okay. Oh, it's just giving me the biggest slice of cheese. It's 298.
Yeah, let's just
the biggest slice of cheese ever was 298 pounds.
What did
That's
they
great.
slice
Let's
it
end
off
it on
of?
that. What's that?
I said, what did they slice it off of?
No, just one giant slice of cheese.
Yeah, define a slice, because it has to be sliced off of something.
World's largest cheese slice. Let me look at this. The largest cheese slice weighs 298 pounds, 11 ounces, and was created by Halayeb Katillo Company in Egypt in 2012. It measured 3 foot 8.88 inches by 2 foot 7.1 inches by 5.91 inches.
Okay, wait. So it was 5.1 inches tall? Because in my head, a slice as a regular...
almost 3.5 long. 2.5 wide. 6 inches tall.
All right, that's just a block of cheese. That's not a slice of cheese.
No, it's a slice of cheese.
I disagree. The government dictates a slice of cheese needs to be at most 5 millimeters thick.
Oh, here you go.
You're
going back to, you're going back to just being, shitty about, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to walk into the restaurant down the street and put on like even thicker glasses than I'm wearing right now and be like, hello, I am the inspector of your food products. This hamburger patty is not regulation. 6 ounces pre-cooked, must be spread out to these dimensions. It must fit in this circle that I have right here that is made of titanium alloy.
Oh, God, why do I look up competitive eating records? Why?
Oh, all right, okay.
Kobayashi ate 57 cow brains in 15 minutes.
Oh, that's a lot of cholesterol.
Jesus Christ. We've had this episode before, and good God, it's terrible. And I want to get back to it.
Well,
okay.
Then.
Anyway, that's processed cheese, everybody.
Oh,
Sorry for the weird political rants. Yeah.
I know it wasn't. I don't think it was not even a weird political rant. It was just like a observation of political history.
Hey, that was my life. I grew up on
fucking
processed cheese. And that's why I love it anyway. Like, and honestly, I literally have a log of shitty. And the one thing I didn't get to was craft cheese versus generic cheese, the generic cheese is always better in taste tests and in when you're making like chili con carne or queso con carne or chili con queso, that kind of thing. It's always the generic that melts better than the actual craft because the craft has so much crazy shit in it, to make it their specific brand that it's really super plasticky.
Right.
So buy the shitty stuff. And that's what I have. And it's so good and everything. Make your mac and cheese with that. And with that said, thank you for listening to the Rude Cooking School podcast. Please look us up and follow us on Facebook. We would really appreciate it. There's a fun time going on over there. We don't advertise, so tell your friends. We appreciate it. We see you. Looking at you, Sweden, again. Evan always likes me shouting out Sweden.
No,
maybe
Iceland.
we should shout out somebody. Oh, you like me shouting out Iceland? Iceland too. And also a fun place to go to is the CTB show Discord. Tell them about it, Evan.
Yeah, you can find all of those things at ctb.show. I'm going to push everything to the side plug-wise this week and say, if you live in the Baltimore area, you don't have much to do on February 18th, come to Checker Spot Brewery and go upstairs around 6:30, 6:40. We are recording a live show to celebrate, sort of, 10 years of podcasting. Yes, I've been doing it that long. I would like to say I was an early adopter, at least in this area, not nationwide, but hey, I had a few awards in those first few years, and I've been cruising along ever since then, and we've had some good guests over the years, and maybe we'll have a good guest or three on that particular date. Maybe John will be there. Who knows?
I will be there with my family, apparently.
Wow.
You told me to bring my family.
Yes, I did. We will get Crosby on the microphone.
Oh, my God.
Because he's a former guest of the show.
I was trying to explain to him yesterday because we were talking about it, and he's like, oh, where are we going? And I was saying, he's like, what's that podcast? And I'm like, you've literally been on the podcast. He's like, I have no memory of that. I was like, well, I think it was before. Was it before?
I don't know.
Because the last time, the only time he met Brian
was it Nugget Fest?
The last time he met Brian. Because Brian came to the house for an episode.
Oh,
the last time he met him in person was for Nugget Fest. And that literally was like 2 days before COVID really took hold, right?
So the one time that was he was on the podcast was during COVID via Zoom.
Okay, so it was during COVID.
Yes.
But he was like, I wasn't sure whether it was like a podcast. He's like, I remember being on a podcast. I don't remember the Zoom because it blends in with your friend's Zooms.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, I get that.
It makes total sense.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll be there and it'll be fun. I'm excited.
I'm going to post a photo of the flyer in the Rude group, or maybe
please.
I'll just share the event. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Look, if 3 people from your group come, I'd be happy.
Yeah, I mean, you're more than welcome to share anything as long as it's approved by me.
Okay. And we have a Discord. Go to our website, ctb.show. You can find the link there somewhere.
Absolutely. And for the Rude Cooking School podcast, I'm John Hauser III. Don't yuck my yum and eat everything.
And don't look down your nose at government cheese.
Nah, it's nice and spreadable and delicious. And if you use it properly, it's delicious like everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to you later, guys. Love you. Peace.
Goodbye.